Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I get to share the marketing and the mindset tips so you as chiropractors can increase your income, your impact, and your enjoyment in practice too. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you how to get more of what you really want, how to find out the root cause of your problems, and how to stop just dealing with the business symptoms. Pretty big, hey? It's going to be a good one. Now, over the last 6 months, I've been doing a bunch of one-on-one coaching, and I love it. Now, I love it because it gives me an opportunity to work very closely with a group of wonderful chiropractors and to see their minds. Literally, it's a bit like kind of if I was a mechanic, to lift up the hood and see what's going on inside. I get to see what's holding them back. I get to see what's causing them pain. I get to see the difficulty in their life. And I get to see why they're not getting what they really want. Now, I moved in this direction. So first of all, actually, let's take a step to the side. The sort of coaching that I do one-on-one is very different from the coaching that I do inside of Community Influencer, okay? When we look at coaches, as a general rule, there are coaches that focus on tactics. Here's what to do. And there's coaches that focus on mindset. Now, I wish there was another word than mindset because it sounds a bit airy-fairy, and it's not. I'm going to give you some examples in a moment. You can think of tactics as a little bit like downloading an app on your phone. So you go, I want to be able to edit videos on my phone. I'm going to download Vlo, you download it. And now all of a sudden that's something that you can do, okay? The mindset is more a hardware thing. Sometimes what happens is you try to download that new app and your phone tells you either there's not enough space or your phone is too old for you to download that, okay? So sometimes what we need is a hardware upgrade as well. So first of all, they're both really important, and which is why I do both of them. The skill set needed for you is understand when do I need to just download an app and when do I need an upgrade of my phone. So tactics, let me tell you where tactics are really helpful as well. So in Community Influencer, I get into tactics all the time. Now, I think I share some damn great tactics. So this month, in March, when I'm recording this now, on Monday, we did a deep dive training. So once a month, I do a deep dive training on kind of what's working now or something that will very much help you with your marketing. So this month, I was talking all about stories. Now, if you want more people to remember you, follow you, and if you want to build an audience of like a loyal tribe, then telling stories is important. There are 3 stories that you should be telling. And in Monday's training, I dive deep into exactly what those 3 stories are, why you should be telling them. I shared the framework, the ingredients, the blueprint for those so they could be implemented. I gave examples of those stories. I gave sentences of how you could start your story. I literally covered every box that was there. Now, what's really great about that and what Community Influencer members pay me for is they pay me for speed. What I taught in that 90-minute class there was the result of at least 5 years of really studying story. I've been doing it for a long time, particularly the last 2. I've read a bunch of books on it. I've listened to lots of trainings. I watch out for it, and I've distilled it into a framework that's really useful for us as chiropractors. So I've condensed 5 years into 90 minutes, and they pay me $297 a month for that, okay? It's a wonderful deal. It's wonderful value for the person that implements it. But here's the interesting thing, okay? Even though I think that this training was fantastic, it left nothing out. It was plug and play implementable. The vast majority, it's sad for me to say this too, of Community Influencer members will not implement this. Now, the reason they won't implement it won't be anything to do with my training. Well, maybe it might be. I shouldn't be quite so egotistical. But the big reason they won't be implementing it will be because of the belief systems that they have. They will have a belief system that'll be something like this. I can't tell stories. I don't have any stories to tell, or maybe no one wants to hear from me. So again, this is an example of that. I went to download that app in there, the stories app inside their brain, and their brain went, you need to update the system here. This is too old in a system. You can't actually download that app. So having an understanding or someone to work with you that can help you change over the identity and the belief systems is really valuable. But I'm going to show you how you can do that yourself in today's episode. So the one-on-one coaching that I work with people is very different. It's not heavily based on tactics. It's not so much me giving somebody a fish, although occasionally I do that. What I want to do is I want to teach my client how to fish. Okay, so it's not so much the tactics of giving you $1 million business, but it's showing you who do you need to become. Who do you need to become a person that actually has that business to do it even without me, okay? Because here's what I don't want. If it's me that's giving it to you the whole time, there's a dependency that comes there, okay? Now, I don't want that as a coach. You don't want that as a student there. We don't want this relationship where there's a dependency on me all of the time. It ends up building up resentment from both of us. What we want to learn is the skill sets as well. So let me give you an example. I'm working with a really wonderful chiropractor who I've known for quite some time, but I've been working with him one-on-one coaching maybe over the last couple of months. Now, from most people's definitions, he has a very successful practice. One chiropractor, one CA, and he's collecting in excess of $750,000. Let me say it again. One chiropractor, one CA, and $750,000. Now, I don't care who you are. That's pretty damn impressive. However, what's interesting about that is that in his mind, there's always a level of anxiety that's there. There's always a level that it could be taken away at any stage. It could be taken away with the next global financial crisis, the next pandemic. It could be taken away with there being regulation changes. In fact, the background story that he has going on is that I'm just lucky, and at some stage, my luck is going to run out. Now, I can tell you, he's not lucky. Now, he's lucky in this sense, because this is a conversation that we had. Being born in the Western world, a white middle-class man, has you starting a long way ahead of the race. Like you're very, very fortunate for that to be happen. But he's then gone on and made the most of the opportunities that have been given to him. He implements amazingly. He's persistent with regards to things. But this doesn't change the operating system that he has going on. In fact, when he first came to me and was working with me inside of Community Influencer, he wanted to know what the next thing was so he could stay slightly ahead of that luck, because at some stage the luck is going to run out. Now think about it for a moment. How stressful and exhausting would this be? That you've built this epic practice, but the thought at some stage it's all going to be taken away from you. And so when you spent time talking with him, there was almost like a static on the line, because you could realize that was the operating system that was going on in the background. So we spent some time thinking about what would be a much more useful operating system for him to have. If we were to upgrade that operating system, what would it be? So we came up with lots of different things, but one of the things that we came up with was this. What if he had the belief system that he could solve any problem that he was committed to solving? Now, the belief systems that we have, or the identities, is who we are. So the identity that he has at the moment is that I've built this epic practice, but I've built it out of luck, and at some stage, the luck is all going to go away. Now, understand that's just a story, okay? Now, stories are exactly that. They're not the truth at all. We choose to believe them. They drop themselves. In many cases, we don't adopt them on purpose as well. And it doesn't matter at all whether the story is true or not, okay? But we look for evidence of it being true. But if we could change that story into, I could solve any problem that I'm committed to solving. Now, when I turned to him and I said, how does that feel? There was an immediate and very palpable ease that came over him. He relaxed. Shoulders dropped down, okay? So instantly he knew, because let's not get all Pollyanna with regards to this. There might be another global financial crisis. I mean, heck, there's wacky stuff going on in Ukraine at the moment. There could be global wars. There could be another pandemic. But if he had the operating system and the belief that he knew inside of him that regardless of what was going on, that I can solve any problem I'm committed to solving, all of a sudden, that was a game changer for him. Now, what does this mean to you? Maybe you're starting to think, what do I need? Do I need tactics? Do I need strategies? Well, let me ask you some questions, okay? Why don't you have the practice that you really want? Now, maybe like this guy, you have a great practice there as well, but you've got this story going in your background that could all be taken away. Or maybe don't have the numbers, you're not working the hours, you don't have the staff. Why do you not have the practice that you want? Now, is it a tactic that is missing, or is it an identity and a belief system? Now, are you saying, look, what's missing is the fact that I don't know how to do social media. I don't know how to market. I don't know how to train my staff. Is there something that you're wanting somebody to teach you to do, or is it a belief system and identity that's missing? Now, I'm going to contend for most of you, myself included, when I go looking for a tactic, what's missing is not actually a tactic. What's missing is an identity or a belief system. I'll tell you why. Because if it were just that tactic, you would have learned it by now. Like right now, the time I'm recording this in 2022, you have access to all the tactics that you want. So this is episode 250, okay? And then on top of that, I think there's another 20 or 30 episodes that I didn't kind of number because they were bonus episodes. But let's say there's 250 episodes. I've shared with you the same blueprint that I use to build a pretty damn successful practice myself, and that I've helped to coach other people, well up into those 6 and 7 figure businesses of people that I work with. So it's all there for you. And if by some chance it's not there on my podcast, it's on somebody else's podcast, or it's on YouTube where you can find this within a matter of moments, but you haven't found it. You haven't gone and got it. Now, I know this kind of sounds like I'm being a bit mean. I'm not. I'm being inquisitive and curious there too. Why haven't you found it? Why haven't you gone and searched that out? And why haven't you implemented it? And probably what I see many of the cases, with myself included, it's not so much a tactic problem, it's an identity problem. So then the next thing to think about is this, is how do I find out what is the identity, Angus? Like you found it for this guy here, he wanted to take on this identity that I can solve any problem that I'm committed to solving there as well. Well, sometimes with my clients, what I like to do is I like to share the Genie test as well. This is one I've made up as well. So imagine that you have a genie and the genie grants you 3 wishes. Now, first of all, you can't ask for more wishes and you can't wish for more genies, okay? Neither of those things are you allowed to do. You have 3 wishes and you can't ask for any outcomes like $1 million, the house of your dreams, or any of those kind of things. You can really only ask for identities or beliefs, okay? The things that would help you ultimately get there. So again, my client's belief was that I got this because I was lucky, and at some stage it was all going to be taken away. And we changed that belief over, that identity over, to the one that he took on, is that I can solve any problem that I'm committed to solving. So let me give you a few that maybe you might want to try on as well. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is sit down, truly ask your heart, because I believe that you can find the solution to anything that you want. That's another belief of mine, okay? I believe that you can find the solution to anything that you want. It's a story. Is it true? I don't know. It's true for me. I've got plenty of evidence for it. We'll talk about evidence in a moment there too. But maybe what you could try on is, maybe the identity that you wanted to have is that I am enough. Like, how would that feel going into practice tomorrow? Maybe the identity that you wanted to take on is that the world longs for what I have to offer. They are begging for what I have to offer there too. Maybe the identity that you wanted to take on, or the belief system, is that I'm great at doing difficult things. That's one of mine. Okay, that's one of my mantras, that life is difficult, but I'm great at doing difficult things. And so therefore I don't shy away from it anymore. I don't wish that life was easy. I don't have a lot of evidence of it being easy, but I've got lots of evidence for me that I'm great at doing difficult things there as well. Maybe you could take on the identity that money is easy. That's another one that I've taken on. And sometimes I'm better at believing it than other times. When I can hold in that space and I know that money is just a reflection of value, so therefore the more value I deliver, the more money that I earn, then what I start to notice is that money is easy for me. Another one that many of you might need to take on is that there's plenty of time. There's no race. There's plenty of time for you to get all of this done. Another one that you might want to take on is that what other people think of me is about them, not me. Now, that's the good and the bad. You can't just have that one way, that when people are saying cranky things about you, you can say, well, that's about them. But when people are saying good things about you, that's about you. You have to give that up and understand that your value comes back from one of the things I said earlier. Your value comes from that you are enough. Fundamentally, if that's a belief system that we have, then we no longer go searching for validation externally. So we've talked about that maybe what you might be needing is less tactics and more change in mindset and identity. I gave you the Genie test that helped you identify maybe what is the identity that you need to take on to get the life that you want to have there as well. And then maybe the question that you're asking now, okay, Angus, how do I go about believing that, because that seems so foreign for me? Well, there's 3 things that I do when I'm wanting to believe something new. And the first thing is just good old-fashioned repetition. I have to tell it to myself lots. I have it written down, but it takes repetition and time again and again. People talk about 14 days, 21 days. My experience is it takes a long time, particularly for some of these really big ones, that there are a lot of things out there externally that like to remind us that we're not enough. It's what makes us buy fancy cars, fancy watches, go on holidays, do things that we don't need to because we're told that we're not enough. And therefore, if you buy this stuff, you will be enough. So there are things in society that are wanting to break down some of these belief systems. So it needs repetition, first of all. It's going to take time. Second, what works for me is visual reminders. I mentioned before, I have it written down in my journal. I'm looking at these things on a daily basis and some of them on a weekly basis, where I have an opportunity to remind myself that I'm good at doing difficult things, that I'm worthy as well, that money is easy for me as well. And then the third thing that I do is I look for evidence. So I look for evidence that supports my case. That might be that money is easy. I go, wow, let me look for some evidence of that. Whereas a couple of things, and it might be, hey, remember you walked down the street that day and you found that $5 note? You know, these little things like, yes, sometimes it flows just easily to me. You know, I put my pants on the other day and there was a $20 note inside of there that I have, new business. Even if it's just one little bit, look for it. Now, you might be telling yourself, maybe the belief system that you want is that you're committed. And I don't have any evidence of me being committed. Well, we need to look at it. Do you brush your teeth regularly? And even if it's just once a day, then you are committed to doing that. There are areas in your life where you show commitment. So the three things that work for me when I'm wanting to take on a new identity, when I'm wanting to believe new things, is repetition, first of all. A visual reminder that's around me all the time as well. And then third, for me to look for evidence. I promise you the evidence is there if you look for it. So, my gorgeous friends, next time you go looking for a tactic, I want you to ask yourself, is this really what I need? Do I need a new tactic? Or maybe do I need a new identity? Do I need a new mindset instead? That's it, my friends. Stay well. As always, thanks for all that you continue to do. Keep saving lives. Your community so desperately needs you. See you back here real soon. Bye. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.